Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. We have another entrepreneur on the show. I'm here today with Kristen Corral. She has, wait for it, this is going to be a second to read off everything that she has dove down into, but it is amazing. She's one of the co-founders of the famous Mexican vegan taco eatery, Tacotarian. I know a lot of you are fans of it by the amount of times I post about it and get messages. It's insane. She is the co-founder of Loco Las Vegas, which is a new local food delivery app. She is the founder of Little White Dog Co. It's a pet care, and that's your longest standing business, right?
10 years.
10 years. Congratulations. And co-founder of the new brunch spot. Mm-hmm. Good Morning Kitchen and Cocktails. Vegas loves their brunches, so it's a perfect addition to the town. Can never have too many taco shops. Can never have too many brunch spots. So, Kristen, thank you for coming down.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This is amazing. So I did read off a long list. Just tell me a little bit about yourself before we dive into everything else. Like, tell a little bit about your childhood, how you ended up in Vegas.
Sure. So I grew up in Orlando, Florida. I was a professional dancer. I did competition dance. I grew up, that's what I always wanted to be, was a performer. So I moved to LA when I graduated high school. I worked at Disney World as Chip and Dale and King Louie.
Wow.
And that did not end well for me. I got fired. And so then I went and I worked on cruise ships. I did a 6-month contract for Royal Caribbean, the production shows that they do on the cruise ship. And then I moved to LA to kind of, feel it out there. And it's hard living in LA. It's really hard. And I had one of my cruise ship friends that lived in Vegas. And so she was like, you should come out here. There's so many shows. And so I came out here and I quickly started, performing out here. And I did that for, until 2013. But in 2010, I think 2011, I kind of was like, okay, I'm getting older. This performing thing isn't going to last forever. So I started Little White Dog Company, and animals were the only thing I really cared about. So I was like, well, let's make a career out of this. And I kind of just started taking clients from, people that I knew in the industry, like, other performers, like, hey, can you watch my pets? Can you watch my pets? And I just built it into this kind of like 6-figure, like large scale pet care company that it is now.
Yeah. Pets make the heart warm. I have to say, everyone, I wish I could have a pet here, but just having a pet in an apartment's tough. You have to take them all the time. There's a lot of needs. Yeah. But there was something I found interesting. I'd never heard of that. I found on your website that one of your services is dog yoga.
Yes.
What is that?
So people always ask this question. So people always giggle because it sounds silly, but it's different than, you see like people doing goat yoga and all of these things. So the program that I got certified through I was actually at UNLV. I don't think it's there anymore, but it's animal massage and care and animal yoga. So the animal massage is, similar to human massage. You go through a whole training of, how it works. And then dog yoga is something that's kind of tacked onto that. And it's not like just people doing yoga with their dogs in the room, which is what you kind of think of. It's actually poses and stretches created for dogs. So it's like a lot of balancing, a lot of stretching, initiating self-stretching, I do it combined with massage. So it's usually a group class that we do, although I do some privates. But yeah, it's actually a lot of fun. We were doing it for a while at was it Gramercy? Yeah, but before COVID, but since COVID, we haven't really done it, and now I'm so busy, I don't even know if I'll get back to doing group classes, but hopefully.
But the company's still up and running, correct?
Yeah, the company's up and running. We I no longer work in the business. I have an office manager. I have right now 6 people working for me. Obviously, the pandemic killed us. Because we rely on travel, people going out of town. Of course, we have some people that just work long hours. We have nurses and doctors that, we were able to help through the pandemic while they were working long hours, caring for their pets while they were just at work. But a bulk of our business is caring for animals when people are out of town. So we were closed for 6 weeks when the emergency order was first initiated. We were able to open in May, and I was able to bring, luckily, some of my staff back. We have really amazing clients, and some of them, even that were working from home, said like, hey, I don't really need you to come, but I love you guys, and we'll still have you come and walk our dogs and, just give them that little break during the day, which was great. And now I think people are starting to travel, and I see like our books filling back up. So yeah, I'm just really happy that, I still am able to employ those people.
Which service would you say is most utilized? Is it dog walking? I saw you had like a dog hotel.
So yeah, we do hotel visits. Those are for mainly people that are staying on the Strip that come in, and the Strip has very strict rules about leaving your dog in the room. So sometimes our sitters will just go and sit there for 5 hours while they're out, partying
In the hotel room?
Yeah, in the hotel room. So
that's amazing. Oh, it's probably for service animals.
No.
Wow.
No, almost all of the hotels on the Strip are pet friendly.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, almost all of them. I think almost all the MGM ones. Most of them are pet friendly now.
Wow.
So again, but they don't want you to just leave your dog there all day because he'll chew apart the furniture and then the hotel has to pay for that.
Yeah.
So we've been successful with, getting a lot of clients from the Strip that are just here for a weekend, but then we also have a majority of our business is, local people just traveling or people at work.
Yeah. I didn't realize like how much of a necessity a dog hotel is. I have a bunch of friends who utilize dog hotels before COVID. Before the pandemic happened, we used to go to a lot of music festivals, and every time they'd be like, "We have to stop off at this spot, drop off the dog," and it's almost like a daycare. But
yeah,
all my friends are and people that I know are very picky about where to stay. It's almost like leaving your child at a daycare.
Yeah, but see, ours is a little different. So it's not a daycare. It's not a facility. Everything we do is mobile. So my staff goes for our clients, it's people that their dogs might not do well in like a group environment. They do better at home. They'd rather like de-stress them, keep them at home. So our staff goes to the people's home and checks on them and feeds them, walks them, 1 to 4 times a day, depending on the needs of the animal.
Oh, okay. That's more cost effective for you guys, obviously.
Well, we have, so we don't have a rental on a space, but yeah.
You don't need like a commercial space. I mean, you're honestly tapped into this trend of remote working, remote living, like on the go. That's like how businesses are adapting. And obviously you've seen that trend with Loco Las Vegas, right? Like I had a gentleman on here earlier, one of my first guests, his name's Peter Klamka. He runs The Blind Pig, and he's converted his kitchen into a ghost kitchen. And the reason why he converted it is because he realized this trend even before coronavirus. He said that there would be 10 people in the restaurant, but then there'd be 10 cars outside waiting to pick up food. So that's the trend that everybody's going.
Yeah. And a lot of ghost kitchens are popping up. I mean, we have a ghost concept that we run out of Tacotarian called Underground Burger.
Really?
Yeah. So you got to try it. You haven't tried it?
I have not tried that. No, I've had some of the tacos, and then I had the Cali burrito a few days ago.
Oh, okay. Cali burrito.
So good. Yeah. So good.
But yeah, so ghost concepts are very popular, but there's kind of there's a couple different things happening in the industry that are positive and negative. But I mean, if you want to talk about Loco, we can kind of go into that. Yeah. So Loco is obviously our newest project, and it's out of our wheelhouse. So it's definitely going to be probably our most challenging. But it's something that was definitely a need in the restaurant industry. Even before the pandemic, these third-party apps were considered kind of this necessary evil. And I hate to even say that, but it's said throughout when people talk about it. But they're charging restaurants 30% per order. And that's low. Some restaurants are getting charged 35, 37% per order, which, when you're doing 1 to 3% delivery is okay, I guess. It's not great. But when you're doing a high volume of delivery, which is what you said, especially during the pandemic, we were almost 100% delivery in most restaurants for a very long time. And we do see this trend of people, wanting to get food to go and eat more at home. It's just not sustainable charging restaurants 37%. And not to mention, all of these other unethical and borderline illegal practices like menu stealing. DoorDash will steal a menu. They have our copyrighted Tacotarian menu on DoorDash right now. We don't partner with DoorDash.
Really? And it's housed under DoorDash as like their own meals, or?
No. Like they have it listed on their marketplace as if like, oh, you can order from Tacotarian. They're a DoorDash partner, but we're not. We're not a DoorDash partner. So we have drivers showing up to pick up orders. That's like we're not on DoorDash. So things like that are bad because then the customer doesn't know that we're not on DoorDash. So the customer thinks, well, why can't I get my order from Tacotarian? And then they're mad at Tacotarian and they don't understand that we never signed up for DoorDash. So you're mad at the wrong person. So some of the things like that. And, Grubhub has a partnership with Yelp where they charge restaurants for phone calls that don't result in an order. So when you click on Yelp, sometimes you're using it just as the yellow pages, to find a phone number. So you click on Yelp. I did this the other day actually, and I wanted to order something from, the vegan gluten-free egg Sammy from Mark Marone's place, Egg Sammy, which was delicious. But and I went to find the phone number to call in my order because I want to make sure I call the order in directly so they don't get charged. And there's a drop down that says like, are you calling this restaurant to ask a general question, or are you calling to place a takeout order? If you click I'm calling to place a takeout order, Grubhub then charges Egg Sammy for that phone call that may or may not have resulted in an order. Oh. So these are some of the egregious practices that we're dealing with these billion-dollar tech companies. They don't care about restaurants. I mean, they can put these stupid commercials with, Wayne's World.
The Super Bowl commercial.
Oh, that commercial makes me so angry. They're not helping local restaurants. They are destroying the restaurant industry. And with that being said, some of these cloud kitchens that are these giant warehouses where people like Chick-fil-A and Chuck E. Cheese and all of these big chains can come in and create these ghost concepts with fake names and pose themselves as local restaurants. These are some of the things that are happening in the industry that, pose real threats to the restaurant industry. So Loco is kind of a local solution to all of these problems. We have this problem of delivery, which is a local problem. We need local drivers. We need local customer service. When a customer has an issue on the Loco Instagram the other day, someone told me they were double charged by Postmates, and then they called Postmates and said, "Hey, I got double charged." And then Postmates was like, "Well, sorry." They don't care. They're not in the business of caring about anybody. So these problems are local problems that we need to solve as an industry, but no one really had I don't want to say the wherewithal, because a lot of people do, but just the balls, I guess, to just say like, I don't know how else to put it, to just say like, screw it. Like, let's just do this. Let's get it done. And when I met John, who created this program in Iowa City, and he had done it with his pilot program, which was Chomp, which is very successful there. They have 140 restaurants in Iowa City, which who knows, there's probably only 140 restaurants in Iowa City.
Protect all of the small businesses.
So he has all those on the platform, and Loco's, got market share there. They do better than most of the other apps there. And I saw that and I said, that's something that we could do here. So we talked to him, and, obviously myself and my partners were very excited about bringing it here. So that's kind of what we're in the process of doing now. So it will be a co-op. It will be a true co-op. So it will be owned and operated by restaurants. We bought the rights to the franchise, but then we're getting other restaurants to come on as owners of this platform, make a small investment, become an owner, and then we do this together. Because honestly, like, there could be a million people creating these, platforms that say they're going to do this, they're going to do that. But the only way this works is if we do it, that's something that's ours, and we create this solution for ourselves.
Yeah, when it comes to tech companies, I dove and tried to create a tech company before this as well. The network effect is really important. Like, yes. That's the way for it to survive. And starting off is tough, right? It's like, it's such a slow, gradual incline, but then it becomes to a point where it just becomes an exponential return. It's the bystander effect. It's like, have you ever seen that video? It's been circulating the internet recently, but it's pretty old. It's a gentleman dancing all crazy at Paradiso at the Gorge. It's a festival, and he's dancing all crazy, and people are making videos of him, like making fun of how he's dancing. And all of a sudden one guy comes up and starts dancing with him. And then next thing you know, 10 minutes later, it's like the whole entire festival is like circulating this guy. That's kind of, that's like the basic idea of what a network effect is.
Yes.
And that's how you get tech, mostly software companies, to grow, is to have that belief. But it's really tough in the beginning. Yeah.
And no doubt it's going to be tough. But I think that, if we had tried to do this 2 years ago, I don't think it would have worked. But I think the restaurant industry specifically during this pandemic is just like, had it. And, and these companies have gotten worse and worse. Their ultimate goal is to monopolize each other, come down to one, which will either be, at this point, DoorDash, Uber, or Grubhub. Those are the last three standing. And then they want to get their IPO, and they've never been profitable. They will never be profitable. Their model's not profitable. So eventually, they may disappear, and we still need to have a solution. So I don't even want to pose this as like, this is some great tech company. It's not. It's a co-op. It's a coalition of restaurants that are giving customers what they want in a way that doesn't kill us. Because people want delivery. So we have to be able to offer delivery, and facilitating your own delivery within each restaurant just doesn't work. It's tough.
It's tough. You also, in today's day and age, people like convenience. So you need a hub to have everything.
Exactly.
for the driver, is there any benefit to partnering with Loco than with Uber Eats or any of these other ones?
For sure. I'm sure, like, if you're talking about videos that you see on the internet, have you seen that video where the Uber driver gets in the car after like his last delivery and he's like, I literally just made $4 an hour for this. And to me, that's unacceptable. You can't pay somebody $4 an hour and expect to get any kind of great work out of them, And just from a human standpoint, you can't just pay $4 an hour, you know? So in the other cities, they have a commission plus tip, you know, pool that comes together, and they're averaging at least $15 an hour, which is great. I think it's good money, and it's still a flexible job. It's it's a simple job, and it gives people the ability to kind of be flexible. And then there will be some training for people. I think that's something that's really lacking, and I think that's something that maybe people don't realize is lacking. You know, Las Vegas has one of the strictest health departments probably in the world. You have to go through a lot of things to open, a food establishment here. You have to have health cards, and if you're serving alcohol, you have to have TAM cards. We all have to go through this training. They're serve safe, all of these things. But then you set that bag on the counter, and somebody with no food safety card, no food safety training, no nothing, grabs that bag and takes it the last mile to the customer. So you don't know what happened to that food when it left your establishment. So I think that's something that was very important to us when we created this program, is making sure that these drivers have some sort of training. And I think they would appreciate that too, knowing, what to do, having some structure, like, okay, make sure I check that everything's in the bag, make sure I'm not missing a drink. What do I do with the food if it knocks over? Like, should I put gloves on to like fix it? Or, some of these things that maybe we take for granted that are common sense, but, people may just not know if they're not in the industry. So that was something that is important to us. So we actually, I didn't even know that I had existed, but a friend introduced me to Mark Steele from the Restaurant Hospitality Institute. And at the beginning of the pandemic, he actually created this program that he's already gotten accredited in Nevada. That's a delivery driver card. So it's like a 3-hour course they do online. They go and take their test at the Restaurant Hospitality Institute. They get their little card that looks just like a health or TAM card, and then they can come work for Loco for better money and obviously, hopefully, better quality of work life.
Yeah, and in a city like Las Vegas that just lives and breathes off hospitality, that's the type of service of delivery food needs to rise with the city, right? It needs to grind attention to that. And that's the thing that I always wondered with like food delivery. I don't necessarily order food to takeout a lot, but sometimes that I have delivered, it takes them an hour and the food's cold or the driver spills the drink. And so from Tacotarian standpoint, do you guys prepare the meals differently when it's recognized as a delivery than somebody ordering in the store?
No, the food gets prepared the same, and that's been some of the frustration, especially lately. I went to Tacotarian Fort Apache the other day, and I saw there was like an Uber bag on the counter, and I looked at the time on the ticket, and it said 3:30, and it was like 4:40, and I was like, holy shit, I don't know if I can curse on here.
Yeah. Freedom of speech.
Holy shit. Like, this has been sitting here an hour. We can't, like, even if they show up now, I can't send this food. Yeah. So I called Uber and I said, this food's been sitting there an hour. And of course they have half the time you can't even get through to them. I was lucky that day I was able to get an agent on the phone, but half the time nobody answers or they put you on hold for an hour, but they just were like, oh, someone else will be there soon. So, but I remade the food. So, that's a cost to us that I have to fight with Uber to now get reimbursed for an additional nachos. And then that's food also that, hopefully my staff will eat, but maybe they don't want to eat it that day. That goes in the trash. So it's a waste issue. B, people are getting food an hour, 2 hours. We get complaints sometimes like, oh, my Uber order took 2 hours. And it's like, ugh, well, great. I don't know what to do about that, because they're trying to maximize their money, which I get. So they're picking up multiple orders and then driving all those orders, which they're allowed to do on those platforms. On Loco, they'll be assigned orders and they'll have to go pick them up and then drop them. They don't get to pick and choose like what deliveries they do. So it will work a little bit differently and hopefully more efficiently.
Yeah. And I like the idea that it's community run, because if it's run it's franchised out to each specific city, those restaurant owners know the best way around the city, the best travel, like the destination. the landscape of, I don't know, miles apart from each taco shop, like it just makes more sense, and that you have that passion for the city. So it's with these massive corporations, everything to them is just a statistic, and that's all they care about is like the bottom line.
And honestly, the thing that it is to them is it's data points. Like what they're doing is collecting this insane amount of data. Think about it. They're collecting everybody, what they like to eat on Friday night, you know, what they're going to order, what their email, their phone number, their everything about these customers. They're collecting that data, which is in this day and age the most valuable thing you can collect, because they can do anything with that data. You know, if they want to pivot and create something completely different, if they wanted to see like, okay, seems like everybody wants chicken sandwiches. Uber Eats could just go and open a chicken sandwich place, which some of these guys are doing. Some of these DoorDash, they're opening these little quick service places using our customer data. So that's the other thing with Loco that I thought was a game changer, is that we're giving all of these restaurants their customer data. So if someone orders on Uber Eats right now, on the tablet, I see a first name. It might say Krista. Well, I don't know Krista's phone number. I don't know who Krista is. If Krista ordered something that is not on our menu anymore, I can't call her and say, hey girl, like that's not on the menu tonight. Do you want something else? I can't do that. With Loco, these restaurants will have access to all of their data because it's their data, you know?
Yeah.
So they'll have their own people that ordered from them. They'll get all of that data pushed to them so that they can remarket or use it however they see fit. They won't get access to all of the data, but to the people that ordered from them.
Yeah, if it's specific to you, that's what's required. Data is the new oil. I mean, I wouldn't even say it's the new oil. It's just like it's the most lucrative industry right now, or a commodity. It hasn't been classified as a commodity yet, but it'll probably eventually become that way. And that the thing with Uber I remember this being a stat during COVID, that their profits were actually higher from Uber Eats than it was the actual rideshare service. Like
because nobody was driving.
Yeah. And so there was the joke. It was like Uber is actually just like a food delivery service at this point. That's why everyone else is hopping on it, because even with remote working, sometimes you're too busy to make food even in your own home because you're just glued to the computer for 6 hours. So it's just like, it's much more convenient to it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a good trend. But how would you recommend that we get Vegas to ban around this idea?
I think that, you know, we've been talking to a lot of restaurants. We have probably like 70 restaurants like signed up. Well, not officially signed up because we don't have the paperwork done yet from legal, but by the time this airs, then they will be signed up. You know, and a lot of those restaurants have a good following. I know at Tacotarian, if I say like, this is what we're doing, like this is how you get delivery, our customers are going to be like, great, we'll do that. So I think the grassroots movement of it, you know, we're going to provide each restaurant with like a marketing packet that will be flyers, stickers, all of these QR codes, things to put in their bags, you know, that are promotional, saying like, hey, when you order delivery, order from Loco. This is how we're doing it, and this is how you support our small business. I think that's going to drive downloads. But we're also working with the county to maybe get some grant money that would subsidize some meals for people that are facing food insecurity, so they could get a free meal on the platform, but then the restaurants still get paid for that meal. Some really cool things like that kind of involve the community that I think will get everybody excited. Obviously, like things like this, you know, that we're doing, you know, local press, getting the word out, all of those things help. And just talking about it and educating your customers, especially from a restaurant standpoint, if anyone's a restaurant owner that's listening. You know, I think people are scared there used to be this thing in marketing where you had to kind of be like your brand, like you had to kind of hide behind your brand. And one of my favorite books is The Marketing Rebellion by Mark Schaefer. And it's just all about how that's not really marketing anymore. People want to buy from local places, and they want to support local business owners, and they want to see those people, and they want to know who they are, so that they can support them as human beings, not just like, you know, as a business. People don't necessarily want to buy Dove soap. You know, they want to buy like the organic, you know, handmade soap, you know, from the arts district. So I think that's the way that marketing's going. And I think that all works in our favor. So again, I think, you know, just promoting it from a restaurant standpoint, from our social media, and all these other aspects, I think everyone will get, I mean, from what I've seen in just the few things that have been posted, is everybody's super excited, like already downloading the app. Like you said, I already downloaded the app. I'm waiting for it, you know? Yeah.
The app's already in Richmond, Knoxville, and Omaha. And then the next is Nashville, Vegas, and Tampa.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe those first few aren't as big, but Nashville, Vegas, and Tampa, those are 3 of the fastest growing cities in the entire country. So if it could scale to these different cities, it'll inevitably scale to everything else.
Exactly. And I think that, it's hard for us to reach all of the there's 6,000 restaurants in town or something crazy. So I think once customers start saying like, hey, are you guys going to get on Loco? Then the restaurants will be like, oh, what's Loco? Oh yeah, I want to get on that. Obviously, some of the highlights are our commissions are going to start at 15%, which is half of what they're paying. The idea of starting at 15% is a starting point just to get us going, so that we have enough, operating capital to pay drivers and all of these things. But the idea is, we're not going to be a $1 billion tech corporation. We're not going to have these, ridiculous salaries. So we'll be able to hopefully over time scale back those commissions, and that's the idea. We'll obviously have well-paid drivers, people earning a living wage. We'll have local customer service that can, help the restaurants when they need help or, handle customer service issues. You'll own your own marketing data, all of these things that we've kind of been talking about.
Yeah, I saw an article in one of your bio links. There was an article written, I think it was in like August, where the county commissioners issued an ordinance that capped delivery fees to like 15%. And that's what you had just mentioned is 15%. Did that seem like an adequate cap for now? So I actually worked with Commissioner Seger-Bloom on that cap. I was the one that reached out to him. I know, and then Alexandria she's the government affairs person at the Restaurant Association. She had reached out to him, and then I had reached out to him. So then we kind of ended up teaming up together to get that passed, and it was definitely not easy. The commission was very in favor, but we also, you wouldn't believe that, Grubhub and DoorDash and Uber would send these, high paid lawyers to fight. Special interests.
Yeah, to fight like a small little county cap. But as these caps are passing all over the country, they are losing a lot of money. So they send these high powered lawyers to, say that we don't know what we're talking about. They're not doing this. They're not doing that, blah, 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 free market. All of these kinds of things. So it was tough. And then after we did pass it, I think in early August, but then Grubhub was not compliant. It took us to go back into the commission. We had multiple phone calls, Zoom meetings, and all of these things with Grubhub officials and lawyers, and they refused to abide by the cap. What they were doing is they were splitting their fees. So they were charging a 10% delivery fee. That was under 15%, but then they were charging a 20% marketing fee. And they claimed that their fee structure was just different than the other guys. They were providing different services, which they weren't, of course. So we had to go back and fix the language so that it could force them into compliance.
Loopholes.
Exactly. But that cap expires when the emergency order expires. So that could be as early as May 1st. I mean, we don't know, but it's not forever. So, but it did help. So just to give you an example, at our Fort Apache store, we do a really high volume of to-go delivery. And in July, I think it was, we paid $77,000 or $7,500 in just third-party delivery fees.
Jesus.
And our rent is $3,500. So you're talking about in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, we're fortunate. We did okay. We survived this pandemic and we've been very successful. But for restaurants that maybe weren't as lucky, you're talking about the difference between, do I pay these mobster third-party apps or do I pay my rent, And people could say like, well, they chose to sign up for this. Well, maybe they signed up when they were doing 1 delivery a day, not 100 deliveries a day. So there's all of these things to think about that. Again, I think that restaurants have been scared to put this information out, because they didn't want to make it too personal or whatever. But I think this is information that's important to the consumers because I do think they care. Because when we started putting that information out on our Tacotarian platforms, people were like, holy, like I had no idea that you guys were being charged 30%. I would have never ordered because they're paying more too.
Yeah. Yeah, messaging is very important. The story behind it's very important. And to the tune that you were speaking earlier about how consumers now in the day and age that we're living with, digital age, they want to be able to resonate with the owner. They want to see their identity, see what they're about. That's something I talk about all the time on here is 20 years ago, society was kind of governed by business people, right? They exactly like you said, they hid behind their business. There was no face. But now society has moved into the land of entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs want to provide value, right? We're here to solve problems. And if we're doing multiple things, like yourself, you there's nothing really for you to hide behind. You have to show what your values are. Like, why did you create like a dog company and Tacotarian and Loco? Like, there's something behind you that makes everything else worthwhile, and consumers want to see that. Like, look at my listeners probably gonna hate me because I use this example all the time, but look at Elon Musk when he went on Joe Rogan, right?
Yeah.
When he smoked weed,
That's such a good episode.
The stock fell 10%, even though nothing in Tesla changed at all.
Yeah.
And that's because he's so tied to his image, because he's an entrepreneur, right? He's building all these different crazy companies. He's building under Las Vegas. And so those kind of things are very important. And it's like that he went against his own messaging, even though now he's like a meme lord and whatever. But at the time, like, everyone was confused.
It was a big deal, yeah.
It was a big deal and everyone was confused. And so it's the same thing like now with entrepreneurship and doing things like Loco. It's like, this is here for the city. We're here to make everybody's pockets better, but also make sure that we're staying authentic and transparent to who you guys are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool to see. If a restaurant wants to sign up for Loco, is there anything that would prevent them? Like, can you sell it? Is it any sort of food that you could sell? Like if you're like a sweet shop or like a full functioning restaurant that has 200 seats, is it anything?
Yeah, anything. And like, I mean, obviously there's some people that are doing meal prep and then they only, do deliveries on Thursday, but they want to take pre-orders. I've been talking to some of those people, and then we're just trying to like think through the logistics of that instead of doing just like an on-demand food. Mm-hmm. But no, we're not restrictive as to like if you have a bakery or, donuts or Mexican or whatever. We want a variety of different things on the platform because that's what people want. So we have coffee shops, we have all kinds of restaurants so far signed up, but to me, the more the merrier, because we want people to have a variety of food to choose from so they can eat different food every night and still order from the platform.
Yeah, and if this is like a community governed thing, I know I had Alex Leon here, who's a co-founder of Foodie Fit, and they have their own delivery service because he was also talking about how the fees were so outrageous. But if you get the fees down below 15%, it's like these companies can actually save on their own employees and just have a third party do it, and everyone else is taken care of.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a beautiful part. Will you have Good Morning Kitchen and Cocktails signed up for Loco once you guys open?
All of our concepts will be on Loco, including our vegan burger concept, underground. So yeah, everybody will be on there.
Tell me about this new brunch spot. This is news. Something new is coming to Vegas, guys.
So the brunch spot we hopefully will be open in the next 6 weeks, but it's actually a collaboration between our consulting team and Chef John Castro. He was formerly, he's been at some really big restaurants like Sparrow and Wolf. He's a great chef, and he just, really wanted to get his food out there, and we thought that this was a great way to do it. And a lot of his food I can't eat, so then I really we really pushed him to do like a great vegan menu, which is what I'm most excited about. But it'll be an omni restaurant with his amazing food. And we tasted like 6 of the vegan items the other day, and I was blown away. My husband and Carlos and I were just dying because we're like, this is better than any food at the Win. Because like when vegans, if you're not in a vegan group probably, but there's like a very big vegan group that, all us vegans are in, and people are always like, what's the best, vegan food, like, nicer, kind of fancier food. And it's always the Win. But I felt like Chef John's food just like blew that. Like he did this just egg frittata. I was like, oh my God, it was so good. So, so we're really excited about that. It's going to have a very like boozy, heavy theme with some fun brunchy cocktails.
Bottomless mimosas,
a Bloody Mary cart, like a build your own Bloody Mary cart from your table. And it's just a beautiful, I can show you pictures after, but it's a really pretty interior with some beautiful, like themed, my partner Regina did a lot of the interior design, and it's beautiful, just golds and blues, and it's got a whole full wood, like painted blue bar with it's just really pretty. So we're excited.
Big fan of brunch spots. Where's the location?
Rainbow and Russell.
Perfect. Yeah. Right on that's like I call it the millennial hotspot. All of my college friends, I also graduated from UNLV in 2015, and everyone I went to college with lives out in that like Southwest area.
Yeah. A lot of industry people live on that side of town too, but it's nice because it's right across from the hospital, and it's like if people, are visiting people at the hospital or need tests done or whatever, and they have, time to go eat, then that's right across the street. So it's nice and convenient. It's centrally located.
And vegan options are improving. I actually tried veganism for about 2.5 months, 3 months. This is maybe like a year and a half ago. I felt really good the first month and a half. It just wasn't sustainable for the job that I was doing, work at the nightclub, where I was, expounding 1,000 calories at work every day. And I just like felt really tired, but
just got to eat some more beans.
Yeah.
I tried up.
Yeah. I tried it. It was cool. Maybe I'll go back to it. I like veganism, identify veganism because it is heavily tied to life longevity. A lot of the Japanese culture, their Japanese culture has the largest average lifespan. And the majority of those people who are living into their hundreds are all mostly vegan, vegetarian options. Yeah. So there's something there that I just can't discount at all.
Do you ever watch or read any of this stuff about like the blue zones?
No.
Oh, you haven't?
No,
you should look that up. So it's like there's 7 blue zones on Earth where people seem to live like a lot longer than other people, like into their hundreds. Mm-hmm. And they did all these studies of why in these specific areas of the world. And they're all very random, like, like some island in Greece, but then also some little area in like, West Palm Beach. And part of it was, their diet is predominantly, and I don't want to say vegan because they're not vegan, but predominantly like vegetable heavy or like not meat heavy. And it's not necessarily because they're doing it for ethical or health reasons. It's mainly access. Like a lot of these places don't have access. Like meat's considered, a huge deal. They don't have access to fresh meat or all these things, grocery stores. So like it's interesting when you read about kind of lifestyles, and other parts fall into it. Like a lot of them are working continuously. They don't retire. They're integrated into their family. Like maybe they become, when they're a grandparent, like they have to take care of the kids, or they're still like working in the field, or all of these things. So they don't kind of just like fade away. They stay like fit and all of it. It's interesting.
It is, yeah, a productive lifestyle. I know like red meat's heavily tied to protein synthesis. It gets you bigger muscles. It can get you more toned. But once I get later into my life, the vegan trend or more heavy plant-based is more of a trend. One of my favorite vegan restaurants out here, obviously outside of Tacotarian, was the Modern Vegan. That was like one of the first ones that I was going to. And yeah. That's once I started going vegan, and I went with a few vegan friends and started seeing like all the cool things you could do with vegan options, and just like the substitutes and the heavy meals, and it makes it taste almost similar, same. Like you see the rise of, was it Beyond Burger that's been taken off in the stock market, and Impossible Foods, and it's a big trend. It
is, yeah, and it's something that I think isn't going away for sure. It's just going to get bigger and bigger, and not necessarily that everyone's going to be 100% plant-based. That's kind of a pipe dream. I mean, it'd be great, but I think as we start to recognize that, and I hate to even use the term vegan because not everybody's vegan. Some people are just plant-based. There is like a difference, but eating more of a plant-based lifestyle, I think, is better for the environment. It's better for people, and I think all around it will be kind of more of the way that we lean, away from big agriculture and factory farming and all of these things that are polluting the environment, not to mention the animal welfare, which is why I started becoming vegan. I think as people are opening their eyes to those kinds of things, and this will be kind of the change we go. And, people are going to be more flexitarian. I think what people are surprised about is that most of the people that eat at Tacotarian are not vegan.
Yeah, they're not.
Yeah, they're not living a plant-based lifestyle. They happen to really like our food, and the fact that it's a healthier option is great for them. So, we have people that eat there sometimes 4 or 5 times a week, for the last 2 years, and they're not vegan. They just like the food. So I think, now that plant-based eating has become more mainstream, and we see all of these amazing chefs and restaurants and people putting out this great food that just happens to be vegan, then people are like, oh, well, if that's what vegan is, I could eat that. But I think there was this misconception. Even my dad was like, what do you eat every day? Tofu? It's like, I don't even eat tofu. It's disgusting. So it's just like more of a misconception.
Yeah, and Tacotarian's killing it. Kamala Harris was just in there eating.
She was.
How cool of an experience was that?
The vice president, just popped in.
Congratulations on that. It's amazing.
Thanks. It was insane. we didn't know she was coming. I'm going to take my shoes off. Do you care?
Be free. All you.
We didn't know she was coming. We are not even normally there on a Monday. And actually our partners, Dan and Regina, weren't there. So Carlos and I happened to be there because we were meeting with Kim Owens from Main Street Provisions to talk about Loco. And so then I went back to Tacotarian. I was just like, you know what? I'm going to get work done today. So I pulled out my computer, I opened it, and I'm like, yes, this is what I have time. I'm going to get so much work done. 5 minutes later, this woman comes up to me and she said, hey, do you mind if I talk to you for a minute? I had a really good experience. I just want to discuss it with you outside. And I was like, what? And I was like, why do we need to go outside? This is weird. I was like, can we just talk about it right here?
Awkward.
Yeah. I was like, can we just talk about it right here? Like, do we need to go outside? And so she kind of just pulled me aside and she whispered, she's like, I'm from the White House and Vice President Kamala Harris is going to be here in about 10 minutes. And, this is what's going to happen. Like, here's the logistics. And I was like, oh God. So they had already placed her food order over the phone, unbeknownst to us. And so her food order was being made. And then she said, okay, we're going to need to move this table over 6 feet because she's going to come in this door. We need to have a clear path for her to walk straight to the register so she can pick up her food. The press is going to come around the other door, like the California door, and they're going to run around behind the register. And then you guys are going to stand right here, and she's going to come in. And so I was like, okay. But then the one table that I had to move had somebody sitting at it. And so when they had just sat down, I was like, damn it. So I went over and I'm like, hey guys, I know you just sat down, but do you mind if I move your table just 6 feet over? The vice president is going to be here. And, they just asked if we could move the table. And they were like, the vice president of what? And I was like, of the United States. And they were like, oh my God. So they were super excited. And it was just like it happened so fast. So then I was like running around, making sure like her food was ready and like the staff knew what to say. And then they were like, what do we call her? I'm like, call her Madam Vice President. And so it was just like making sure everything. And then my husband was in the office trying to do payroll, which he couldn't get logged on. And then I was like, babe, the vice president is going to be here. He's like, what? So then we were like running around and then she came, of course, Secret Service comes swarming in and then the press comes running around like it's Kim Kardashian. I mean, they're like full on running. And then she just steps out of the car. And if you see on TikTok, there was like all these TikToks, like really funny ones of her like getting out of the car that like that people took that were eating in the restaurant. And she came in and she came up to us and it's cool. And, it's something that they do, but it's fun when you're on the receiving end is they brief her on your names ahead of time. So when she comes in, then she's like, oh, Kristen, Carlos, Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of a cool thing.
It's a cool experience.
It's a very cool experience. And she was super friendly. I mean, I just had, my husband didn't say anything. I was just like verbal diarrhea. Like, oh my gosh, how did you hear about us? Are you vegan? This, the vaccines, blah, blah, blah. Like, just like, stupid. I probably sounded idiotic. But she was really nice. And then, she went and talked to Jermaine, one of our staff. He was the one. It was the cover of the review journal. I think it was like him and her like pointing at each other or something. So he was excited. Our other staff member Gigi was like crying, and it was really cool. And we got a ridiculous amount of press, and we were really thankful because I think the reason she knew about us is because Senator Cory Booker had he's come into both of our stores. When he's in town and he's been really supportive and he's such a nice guy. And obviously he's a well-known vegan. So I think he's like trying to push her in that direction. So he told her like, go eat Tacotarian, you'll like it. But who knows if she even got to enjoy it. I mean, I can't even imagine living that life, like just running all
constantly.
the time. Constantly.
Do you know what you ordered?
I do.
What you ordered?
This is a big question. And I actually was like scared to tell people at first. I emailed, because I immediately got all these press requests saying, what did she order? What did she order? So I emailed the girl from the White House that had talked to me and I was like, do you mind if I say what she ordered? Like, is that private? And they were like, no, it's fine. But I don't think she ordered. I think they had ordered for her. I think it was 2 mushroom asada, 2 carne asada, and then 2 super tacos. So good choices.
Yeah.
But I know when she was there, because they said, she's going to be confused. She might think that she still has to order. Just let her know that we've already ordered for her. Because she kept saying like, oh, the enchiladas. And I was like, just let the woman have the enchiladas. Yeah. Like, geez.
Let her hang out for a second.
Yeah. I was like, I can make the enchiladas, but you couldn't even, like, as she was like, I wasn't by the register. I was like over on the other side behind the press corps. So as I started to step out and be like, we can get our enchiladas, the Secret Service was like, nope. Don't move. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I remember I was walking by with one of my buddies and there was the police car right in front of it. And we're like, what's going on here? And one of the officers is like, doesn't matter, keep walking. And so we walked around the other side where the other police officer was like, what's going on over here? And he's like, the vice president's inside. I was like, oh,
yeah,
nice. I didn't know.
And once she came in, no one was allowed to like enter or exit. Everyone had to stay put because we had my partner Regina, her dad is like he helps with like deliveries and stuff. So he was like standing outside with like an armful of like tortillas. Like, I got tortillas, and he just had to stand there for like 20 minutes. They wouldn't let him in.
Tacotarian's great. It's definitely a staple in the arts district. What are the main differences you see between was it Fort Apache?
Yeah.
Between the Fort Apache location and the Arts District location?
The most notable difference is the size. The Fort Apache location's more of just like a quick service, like grab it and go. I mean, we do have tables in there, but because of COVID, I mean, up until last week, we had like 2 tables in there, like 2 tiny little 2 tops. And then now we have like 4, I think, over there. So we're creeping back up. Normally we have 8 tables, I think, is our standard, but they're small tables. It's just a small place. We do a ton of to-go and delivery out of that store. And then we only do beer, wine, and 1 specialty cocktail, which is our margarita, of course. Our downtown store is a lot bigger. It's, more than double the size. There's plenty of room to sit. We have that huge patio in the back. And then we have a full bar. We have a full liquor license down here. So we do all kinds of, mezcal and fancy. My husband does all the cocktail program and everything. So we have specialty cocktails and all of those kinds of things.
Yeah, the Arts District location's dope, and it's also pet friendly. See people in the back with their pets hanging out.
Yeah, we have that dog patio. Yeah, and we have like a little doggy menu too for people that want to come in.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yes. So there's doggy treats, and we'll do more. I mean, it's hard because we opened this arts district in December, like right before Christmas. So we were only open for like 2.5 months before we closed for 6 weeks. And then now we're just getting back to a point where hopefully we can like first Friday we'll be back, and we can do dog events on the patio, and maybe we'll do dog yoga on the patio at Tacotarian.
Perfect.
So yeah, there's so many things that we can do down here that we haven't really just barely gotten our feet wet.
And the community down here, we were talking about this before we started recording. The arts district's just growing at like a rapid rate. There's more breweries opening up. We have the comedy store. Like there's all kinds of different innovative ways. I think our generation resonates with this area because there's no gambling down here. It's like very artsy. There's a lot of restaurants, and just like it's more like a hangout, like a hip spot.
Yeah, and even more so now than even when we rented. I mean, we got so lucky when we got that spot when we did, because now it's completely, every spot's almost taken. I mean, we have that great corner spot, but I mean, I was a little nervous because I was like, what's going on down there? Because I think we signed the lease, probably 8 months before we did the build out. So, but yeah, I knew James was killing it at Esther's Kitchen. I mean, he was down here. Josh at Makers was killing it. So we're like, it's already kind of like good company down there. But now, I mean, we've got Garage's Day, we've got Craft House, we've got Main Street Provisions, and then Vince at Good Pie, and then Soul Belly's coming. Like all these really cool restaurateurs and chefs are coming down here. And like you said, the comedy thing. And then with that thing that I got hyped about was the off-Broadway Soho Playhouse that might be coming down here. That is just, to me, why would you ever go anywhere else besides the Arts District? Like, you could just stay down here your whole Vegas trip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been slowly, with the podcast, a lot of the guests that have come on here, are not familiar with the Arts District at all. So it's almost like the ambiance of walking up to the table, and they're like, what is this crazy place with the antique stores and different art? And a lot of the different entrepreneurs I've had on here have different businesses in the area or right across Charleston. Like For the Culture has their office over there, where it's kind of like a collective of a few individuals. They try to bring together different culture pockets within Vegas, like the graffiti artist and the car enthusiast and the musical artist. And they were doing events, but now they're doing online stuff like that.
Are they the ones that do that car event outside of Vesta that's sometimes on Saturday mornings?
No. So they're across Charleston, but they probably partner with them because they have all these different culture hotspots. Also, Graffiti Park's located down here as well. Mm-hmm. Daniel with all the artist collectives. So there's all kinds of cool different stuff down here that makes it very attractive. And I've noticed that a lot of tourists, I have tourists that listen to the show too, they begun to migrate off of the Strip and started exploring the Arts District and downtown because there's a little bit more culture down here. It's not as corporatized. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, a lot of the younger generations trying to push away from that that mainstream corporate culture and it's more support local, which is why Loco is perfect.
And I think that like a lot of the younger generations too don't really care about gambling or some of the things that are, you know, and I think even moving away, I mean, God, don't shoot me if you're in the nightclub industry, but like moving away from that like nightclub type of industry. I mean, maybe that's just me because I'm getting old, but I feel like, yeah, there's so much more down here culturally. That's really cool. And now, I mean, you really have like the best of both worlds because like as it's growing towards the strip, like Main Street is like, you know, you've got Abel Baker down there and then the Huddle Brewery and like all these things are popping up like on their way down to the Stratosphere. It's like if you're staying at Wynn or Stratosphere or that, you know, north end of the strip, it's like a half a mile walk down here.
Yep. And they're redoing all of the roads. It's like one of the largest road projects they've ever taken on.
I know. I saw that.
It's amazing. Yeah, I saw the writing on the wall for the nightclubs immediately once we closed. That's why I started the podcast. I was like, this is going to be very bad for the industry.
I'm sure they'll come back.
They'll come back. My concern is I think once it seems like May 1st is probably going to be once we could go back to 100%. I think there's going to be a big pop in the beginning for enthusiasm. You know, everyone's been bogged down. My concern is the international travel restrictions that are in place. Like, as being a busser for the last 5 years, I could tell you probably at least 25% of the tables are all like international travelers.
Yes. Yeah.
So that'll hurt. I mean, granted, you'll get a lot of different people from all over the states flying in here. I mean, as we saw last weekend, everything in the Arts District was packed. I went out. Insane. Friday, Saturday, I literally walked to like 5 different bars, like Rebar and Hop Nuts, and then over to like Berlin and then we ended up at 18 bin, but it's just like everything was full.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we've had some of the, I mean, obviously we opened previous to the pandemic, so we don't have a lot to compare it to. But I mean, like in the last couple of weeks, we've had some of the busiest days we've ever had, which is great because then we put more staff on and people get more hours and all of these things, you know, that are fantastic. So we'll see. Yeah, when we're at 100%, I mean, I feel like it's going to be nuts for a little. But you're right. It'll be interesting to see how international travel pans out if they end up doing like a vaccine passport or something like that.
Yeah, they've started doing that in some other countries as well. So I think that's the concern, or are they going to do it? Or are they not? But either way, Vegas is going to go through this refacing opportunity. It tends to happen in Vegas every like 10 to 15 years. It was like in the 40s, it was just kind of like no man's land, anything goes. In the early 90s, or I guess in like the mid 70s, it was like $1 cocktails, $2 steaks, like
those shrimp cocktails.
The shrimp cocktail, like very like fancy, everyone's in suits kind of thing.
Yeah.
The 90s, it was like very family oriented. They had Wet and Wild and they had the MGM theme park and the Sahara roller coaster.
Yeah.
This most recent one was all about like nightclubs and day clubs and entertainment and residencies. And so this next phase, I feel like Vegas is finally going to be able to bridge off of the strip and like finally have a culture. Like it's like, obviously we were the hardest hit city in the country. We're at like a little over 30% unemployment at one point. But I think everyone is beginning to realize like how important localism is. The return to localism is going to be very real because of it.
I think so too.
And just all the small businesses were just hit so hard. Like unfortunately, a lot of small business didn't make out of it.
Yeah. I mean, especially in the restaurant industry, it was brutal. So I hope that everything comes back the way it was or better, which is what people are saying. Like we could have some roaring 20s. Yeah. I'm like, okay. I'll get my shimmy skirt on.
Right. Was there ever a concern from Tacotarian that you guys might not recover from it?
So I think it's interesting. I always think about this meeting that we had and I will not forget it. It was in February where I remember myself, Carlos, Dan, and Regina, we were at Starbucks, the one over by our Fort Apache store, and we were having a meeting like, okay, we had a plan A, a plan B, a plan C. And like plan A was like, I don't remember, we cut back on staff a little bit, you know, things might get a little weird, we're not as busy. And like plans like F was like, we close. It was like, we're never going to get to that. Like, it's never going to happen. Like, we just couldn't fathom like the entire world shutting down. And now when you think about it, it's like, God, I can't even believe like we're here. It's been a year and it's still not even back to normal. But yeah, so in in that early phase of like, okay, at first we said, okay, we're going to try to keep some staff on. And then we were like, okay, we'll try to run it ourselves with like one staff member when we had to actually close the dining room and just do to go. But then our staff was like, some of our staff was nervous about getting sick. I was nervous about getting sick. So I think everyone just got like, okay, you know what? Let's just close and pause for a few weeks and see where we're at. And we were really fortunate. Dan, Regina's husband, who's our fourth partner, like he's really good at applying for like licenses and, financials and all of these things that he's really organized and really great at. So we were lucky to get our first PPP loan. So when we did get that, we reopened in May. And by May, we had kind of more of a sense of like, as long as you're wearing a mask and everything, like you feel a little bit safer. It's, but we reopened on Cinco de Mayo and it was insane. It was like insane. And it was just to go only. And like, it was nuts. But yeah, we've stayed open. So in that initial phase of like, when we didn't know when we were going to get PPP money and like how long this was going to go on. And like, we always, we're pretty conservative about spending, we do these build outs, for affordable. We do a lot of the work ourselves. We're in there painting, wallpapering, Regina and I did the wallpaper at Good Morning, so don't judge it. Yeah, like all of these things where we try to, save money so that we have these rainy day funds set up, and so we do keep money on the side, and we don't pay ourselves very much so that we can sustain these businesses, and keep them forever. So we were very fortunate, but it was scary. It was definitely scary, and we were lucky. I can imagine, if people that have like a fine dining restaurant or something where your food's not, suitable for takeout. But then you saw people like James Trees that pivoted and started putting out those meal kits, and he was killing it. He was killing it with those meal kits. Like he was selling those full things, and then he would do like a 1 week where he would get on Zoom and then teach them, like cook with them how to do those. It was genius. So you saw all these really smart people pivoting and doing these amazing things, even when they had to be closed. So
what's the dynamic like of having two of Tacotarian? We didn't talk about this. There's two couples that run it.
Yeah.
Like, what is that dynamic like?
Yeah. So people ask this question all the time. I think people are fascinated. Like, how do you guys get along? What do you do? So it was definitely, so for me, it was more of a learning curve for me because, Carlos, my husband, and Dan and Regina, they've worked together for like 20 years. So they were, working in another management company in the restaurant industry. That's their wheelhouse. That's what they know how to do. My husband has been a GM for, years and years. Regina does like the kitchen, serve safe, events, large scale events. Like Dan was always a CFO. They know their jam, like they know what they're doing, and they kind of knew how to work together. I was like kind of the black sheep coming into the picture. My background is not in restaurants, although of course I worked in restaurants. I was a teenager at one point, young adult. So I'd worked in restaurants, but I had never like operated a restaurant on this level. And I also come from a place where I run a company by myself. So it's different when you have to kind of get into a groove and have partners where you have to go over everything. So I think for me, it was probably, more difficult than it was for them. But we work together really, really well. And I think honestly, it's probably the best team that anyone could have because we have completely different strengths. Like we do completely different things. And now after these couple of years, we've gotten into such a groove of doing these different things that we work so well together. And we know like, okay, this person's really great at this. Like, here you go. Like this person's really great at this. You do this. So we've gotten really comfortable. Do we agree on everything 100%? No, we're human. I was worried about working with Carlos every day because again, it's like you go home and especially during the pandemic.
You can't escape it.
Yeah, you can't escape it. But I think like, honestly, it's so funny because they still had their other jobs when the pandemic hit. So taking that 6 weeks off, honestly, I think Dan and Regina would agree, but for Carlos and I, like really changed our lives. Like it gave us a minute to really like stop, breathe, think about what our long-term goals were, think about what we really wanted for ourselves, think about the things that were most important to us. And that meant like for all of us taking a step, or for them specifically, taking a step back from their current jobs, making less money, and focusing on what we wanted to grow together, which was, Tacotarian specifically, and now some of these other things, but more so, I mean, Tacotarian is our baby. That's, our concept that we created together. And I think it was the best decision we could have ever made, because when you're forced to kind of take a step back and look at what you're doing and what you want long term, you'll see that like, this is what I want. And for Carlos and I, it made us probably closer than we've ever been. I mean, we've been together, we've been 17 years. So we've been together since we were 24, 25, you know, we're almost 40 now. So, but I think it brought us closer together because we were like, okay, this is what we want. This is what we need to do to get it. And then the four of us were like, this is what we need to make happen. And that's the direction we're headed. And I think we always say, I mean, we said this even last week, was like, this was sometimes you have to take a step back to move forward. And it's the best decision. And I know it's scary, but it's the best decision we could have made.
Yeah, the whole COVID pandemic and quarantines was a very introspective time for all of us, and very enlightening. A lot of people that I've had on the show made drastic pivots in their life, and it's turned out very well. It just shows that when the world stops and all you have to do is sit there with your thoughts and you have to make a decision, it shows like do you have that grit to go out against the grain and focus on you, double down, and understand what motivates you at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I hate to minimize it and be like, oh, you know, because it comes from like a place of privilege. We were able to sit home and like, you know, not lose our house and not, you know, have the lights turned off. So like, I hate to even, you know, say, but so I do see the plight of like other people that were forced to like, holy crap, like I have no money. What am I going to do for work? And then struggling. So I hate to like paint the pandemic as a positive thing, because it's definitely not. I mean, it's disrupted all of our lives.
It's been labeled as like the great reset.
Exactly.
Is basically reset everyone's habits that you had and forced you to think in a different perspective, which I think is good. Even though you are put in an unfortunate circumstance, it just shows like how genuine you are, and like if you're able to problem solve.
Yeah. And luckily for us, we don't have kids. So.
Yeah, that is.
All my friends with kids were like, I'm dying over here.
Stuck in the house. Just, oh my God, newborns. It's funny that the next generation, I think they're going to be called the quarantine boomers. Like that. So I had so many friends who've like put out kids during this last year, just being stuck at home. Yeah. That's funny. So funny. I was like the next generation to ruin the country. Yeah, the quarantine boomers. Well, I have one final question for you. Same question I ask everybody. What does Las Vegas mean to you?
Oh man, that's a tough question. You know, it's funny, like I really like Las Vegas. It's grown on me. When I moved here, it was just kind of like for opportunity. And I think that it does represent opportunity, because I think there's so much opportunity in Vegas that people think that, oh, it's just the Strip and that's all there is to it. But I think there's so much opportunity for people beyond the Strip. And I think there's opportunity for people who want to work for someone else. And I think there's opportunity for people who want to work for themselves. And I think there's so many different industries here that are up and coming that make it such an interesting place. But for me, Las Vegas is just home. Like, it's just, you know, it's weird. I've been here since 2003. So I've been here a long time. So it feels like home to me, even though I didn't grow up here. But yeah, I just think it's a great place for opportunity.
It is. That's the number one answer.
Is it?
Is opportunity.
Oh,
yeah.
God, I thought I was being all freaking creative.
Yeah, all the Vegas transplants, for the most part, people who are born and raised here, like myself, we generally say something cliche like home. You know, home is where the heart is. And then for everyone who's moved here at some point in their life, it's always opportunity.
Yeah.
Because like you said, there's so many different industries, and you can either work for yourself, you could work for someone else, you could build something, you could generate a team. Like,
yeah. I mean, I'm on like my fourth career here, so.
Hey, it's the entrepreneur in you. Where do I send all of the listeners and viewers to follow you or any of your businesses?
So for the easiest thing is for Loco, just to go to hello@locovegas.coop. That will have like applications for drivers, applications for customer service. If you want to be a restaurant partner, all of that information on there. Otherwise, if people just want to follow me, even though I'm super boring on social media, they can just follow me on Instagram. It's La Kristen Corral. And that's it. Yeah.
Amazing. Everything will be attached in the show notes below. Kristen, thank you for this. I admire your entrepreneurial endeavors and your authenticity. Like, it definitely shows. Can't wait to check out Good Morning Kitchen Cocktails, and I'm definitely a regular eater at Tacotarian. So
thank you.
Thank you for sharing your time with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you next time.